Social workers help people solve and cope with problems in their everyday lives. In this video, we're going to help you answer the question, should you become a social worker in 2020? We're going to go over salaries, the job market, and the latest trends coming up. Hey everyone, Stephen Hack here with Career Watch, where I help you with your career search. If you end up enjoying the video, hit that thumbs up to support the channel. All the charts and graphs used in this video are available at my blog at www.careerwatch.co/blog. There's actually many different types of social workers. Child and family social workers help lower income families deal with childcare, understand Medicaid, and get food stamps. School social workers help develop a plan to improve student performances and social development. And healthcare social workers help patients manage their illnesses and conditions. And there's actually even more types of social workers beyond this initial list. So what kind of salary can social workers expect? To show this, we're actually going to use data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They have many years of data on social workers. In 2012, they recorded the average base salary of social workers at $47,370. By 2019, this average base salary grew to $54,190. So from 2012 to 2019, this is a growth of about $7,000. This comes out to an average yearly wage growth of about $1,000. So the estimated 2020 salary for this occupation would be $55,164. Using this average yearly wage growth, we can actually forecast wages for social workers 10 years into the future. So by 2029, we should expect the average social worker to earn around $64,000 per year. So what kind of starting salary can a social worker expect generally, nationally across the country? Well, we can look at the 0 to 25th percentile. That's usually a good indicator of what kind of starting salary should be expected. So this would be anywhere between $25,000 to $38,000 per year as a starting salary. But for people that stay in this occupation for a long period of time, the top 10% of social workers earn around $83,000 per year. Now, one factor that kind of plays a role in the compensation of social workers is work environment. Certain work environments tend to pay social workers more than others. The government actually found that local government actually tends to pay social workers the most amount of money, with an average salary of around $55,000 per year. The lowest paying work environment is individual family services, which pays on average around $43,000 per year. So there's actually almost a $13,000 difference between the highest paying work environment, local government, and the lowest paying work environment, individual family services for social workers. Now, compared to similar occupations, social workers make a little bit less on average. They tend to make more than rehab counselors. Rehab counselors on average make around $40,000. And social workers, as I said previously, make around $54,000 as a national 2019 average. But they are beat out by marriage and family therapists, who make around $55,000, social and community service managers, who make around $73,000, and psychologists, who make around $89,000. Now, to be perfectly fair, many people get into this occupation not for the money. They get into this occupation to help other people. Money is not a huge factor for a lot of social workers. Next thing we want to get into is the job market. Is this a growing field or is this a shrinking field? Again, we're going to use Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, which shows us the job growth that has occurred over the past couple of years. In 2012, the government recorded 582,000 employed social workers. By 2019, the number of employed social workers grew to 678,000. So between 2012 and 2019, this comes out to a growth of almost 100,000 jobs, or about 14,000 per year. So this is actually pretty good job growth just over the past 7 years. And the government is actually pretty optimistic about the future job market of social workers. They are predicting a 13% growth over the next 10 years. This is kind of how it would look. By 2029, they are expecting there to be 770,000 employed social workers, whereas around 2019, there's around 678,000. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to gauge how competitive this occupation really is. I look at the number of job openings on Indeed.com, and then I compare it to the number of employed. So I went on Indeed and I searched for social worker in the United States, and it gave me about 21,000 job postings. So there's about 21,000 job postings against 678,000 employed social workers. This gives us a ratio of 1 job opening on Indeed per 32 employed social workers. The lowest ratio I have ever seen is for oral surgeons. There is 1 job posting per 5 employed oral surgeons. 1 job opening on Indeed versus 32 employed social workers isn't bad. It just means that there isn't a shortage, and this is more on the competitive end for an occupation. Also, regarding social worker jobs, they work in a wide variety of different environments. 18% work in individual family services, 14% work in local government, and as I shared with you before, this is the highest paying work environment for social workers, local government. About 14% work in ambulatory healthcare services, 13% work for state government. So what kind of education is required to become a social worker? Well, the issue is there's many different types of social workers. There's child, family, and school social workers, there's healthcare social workers, just to name a few. For some social work positions, it requires a bachelor's degree, and for others, it actually requires a master's degree. And again, to make this even more complicated, it changes by the state. So it's pretty complicated determining what education is required for what kind of social worker. But luckily, the government surveyed the education of social workers across the board in 2017, and this is what they found. They found that 1% had a high school diploma or equivalent, 5% had a high school degree, 9% had some college, 6% had an associate's degree, 41%, the majority, had a bachelor's degree, and 36% had a master's degree. Only about 2% had a doctorate degree. So there definitely are social workers working in this occupation that don't have a bachelor's or even a master's degree, and this is probably because states regulate them differently. So that goes over the educational requirements of becoming a social worker. What kind of people actually become social workers? Whenever you're looking for a career, one of the best things you can do is figure out your Holland codes. And to do that, you have to take a RIASEC assessment or a Holland code assessment. And this is to gauge what your interests are. And then once you know what your scores are, what your Holland code scores are, you can compare them against other people in different occupations and see if your codes line up with people in various occupations. So social workers score really high in the social theme. People that score really high in the social theme tend to describe themselves as helpful, cooperative, kind, cheerful, and patient. They're often motivated by helping, empowering, and instructing other people. So as you can see, there's pros and cons to becoming a social worker in 2020. The educational requirements are very different depending on the state and what kind of social worker you're trying to become. The pay is a little on the low end compared to similar occupations, but many people go into this occupation not really too concerned about the pay. They do it for other reasons. Maybe they have values that are very aligned with becoming a social worker. The government is forecasting good job growth for this occupation, 13% over the next 10 years. But when I did look on Indeed.com, I did notice that there's one job opening per 32 employed social workers, and this means it's a little bit more competitive than the average occupation, at least from what I can tell. Are you a social worker? What do you like about this occupation, and what do you dislike about this occupation? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.